Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today's topic is the Hegel Part IV. And last time I thought probably three is enough, but I thought about this idea, so I decided to add it on. And today's topic mostly is about the historical position Hegel takes, and also the relationship of Hegel with my instantology and absolutology. A subtitle is The Journey of the Absolute. So that's the topic. And okay, let me write it down just in case you need it. All right, Hegel and the AI, the relationship. Okay. Uh, Hegel was born like 150 years ago, and his in his time, he got a temporary fame, and was a lot of people, and because he said something about the his philosophy, he thinks that the state is very important in his history of philosophy, the law of philosophy, and his ideas are liked very much by the government, so he sort of got a fame on that. But unfortunately, he died of the what was that disease? Um, some disease, right? And the epidemic at that time. And but when he died, he really think that his system, very few people, and almost nobody understood him. And I think, till today, still very few people understood him. And he was ridiculed a lot during the past, after he died, of course, especially by the analytical trend, by Bertrand Russell and other people. And they think his ideas are like a cotton ball and woolly stuff and like cloud. You walk there, you don't know where you are, and there's a lot of things fuzzy and something like that. Well, to me, I feel his ideas is very really deep, and of course he has some problem too, and he exaggerated the trail of the dialectic, so-called thesis, antithesis, and synthesis thing. He put it everywhere and pick up categories at will, make a 270 or something. And it seems to me a little bit exaggeration, and the things don't always happen, go to self contradiction, that explode very that much. We know that. Okay, so, but anyway, his system basically tells the truth, a lot of the truth of the world, and for the most part. So I think he's a very important figure in the history of philosophy. No matter you understand him or not, you cannot do without him, and that's the fact. Okay, today I'm going to talk mostly about his idea, his major idea, and sort of like a summary. Also, what's related, affected from the beginning to the end, till what I put forward as the instantology and absolutology. And I try to relate the dots here, the logical dots, and connect them. And Hegel is difficult to read. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, to philosophical texts, if you study carefully, you'll notice that by word or meaning, there's of course a few that is hard to understand, but you look at dictionary, you know the meaning. But the more important thing is the logical dots, I call it, are very hard to connect. In other words, it's very hard for you to see what's a relationship from person, philosopher before him and the philosophers after him. Why history after the the fill, the sublate, if you want to, and the sediment, and eventually it got down, and whatever left is valuable. Had Hegel left there, and because it has its value. Actually, everybody's work, the history will judge, and so it's an objective thing and not a subjective thing. It's not what you think you are, but what the world feel, right? And maybe you are like God love. What's the name? Sorry, the guy Bertrand Russell discovered, just off the top of my head. And so there's a lot of things that people forgot you, and but later on, if you really have value, and of course, history will discover it. And when you are alive, you try to prove your value to the world, but sometimes you just fail to do it, or the world it's not that advanced to realize what you think is valuable, like the heliocentric system and advanced 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago by some ancient Greek philosophers already, and but till Copernicus, and it's formally launched. So sometimes if you are too ahead of yourself, and it's nobody understand it, it's normal too. So as a philosopher, you probably need to endure the isolation and things like that. All right, okay, that's aside. Let's go to the history of the absolute. All right, I want to draw it too, and so bear with me. Well, let's do it one by one, just in case. All right. In summary, in Hegel's eyes, the history is moves in a advanced, like a circle going upwards a little by little. That's basically correct, but it's a circle, not always upwards. It's basically it's a circle, goes back. Why I say that? Well, let me start by the first dot. All right, like more than 2,500 years ago, BC. All right. First, we have the ancient myths, or later on become religion. God creates the world. All right. In the Bible, the God created Adam and Eve, then in 7 days created the world. Okay. So basically, religion says God created the world. Okay. That is the starting point. But what is God? Then we started define it in history. All right. So God created world here. God created world. World. All right. God's world. All right. We have next one. First, we have the trio, Socratic, Socrates or pre-Socratic philosophers, and till Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. No, let's just say Aristotle. For Aristotle, and God is infinite in his metaphysics. It's everything, right? It's a infinite substance. That's his idea. So for Aristotle, I just write here, Aristotle. Yes, infinite substance. All right? Okay. God is infinite substance. That is the idea. All right? Then we know Aristotle's ideas and was upheld in the Middle Ages, so-called the Dark Middle Ages, in the West for 1,000 years till 12th century or 11th or 12th century, right? Okay. At that time, let's say religion, Christian religion or Catholics religion, they hold the Trinity is God, and human souls, the Son, Father, Spirit, and that's God. And the Earth is the center. We are the center. All right. So that when Bruno later on had idea against those the religion claims, the Catholic Church, and decided to burn him at the stake. Okay. So basically, idea. Next one is the religion of Catholics think that God is absolute. That's a definition starting, right? Okay. Absolute God equal. God is absolute. God is everything. It's in fact perfection every way, good, virtuous in every way. That is expressed by Augustine. Okay, the first major philosopher in the Middle Ages, Saint Augustine. Okay, in his Confession, the City of God, and he expressed that God is perfect, is absolute, is everything. Good. All right, and so that's another dot here. All right. After in the Middle Age, in the medieval time, we have three of them. All right, Augustine is one, and Augustine is one. Another one is Anselm. Anselm is one. Another is Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas. Okay. Augustine thinks God is everything, perfect, absolute perfect for any way. And Anselm thinks God is the supreme, the better, the supreme, the best. You cannot think of anything higher than that in your mind. That's proof of his ontological proof, so-called, right? So, but he started to say in everything in the mind, for that which cannot be higher must exist in reality. Another priest refuted him by saying, an island, you can think about an island too, this way, all right? But Anselm refuted, rebutted, saying that it's different categories, all right? But the important thing is, I think Anselm's idea of the supreme or the best of anything in your mind, that's top. That idea is very important. So in other words, in Anselm's words, the existence existence of the supreme being is the most utmost thing. All right? That idea is very important. In other words, here, something is defined as with the property of everything, the best. You see, here is if you think about that more, you will feel there's a contradiction actually. Something of everything. Is that possible? But that's people think that way. All right. So the essence idea, never mind, he is saying reality must correspond to the brain, whatever in your mind. So there exists a being, and this is important, a being, something that is as perfect, as supreme as in my mind. That's his idea. All right. When it comes to Thomas Aquinas gave 5 proofs. I mentioned the last time. Number 1 is the mover. If something moves, there must be something behind it which push it, make it moves. Then, if you go this circle, the logic at the beginning, it must have unmoved mover. Okay, actually that idea is from Aristotle too. All right, so Thomas Aquinas gave the 5 proofs. So the mover theory, the contingency theory, the causal theory, the morality theory, and things like that. 5 proofs. Thomas Aquinas. So he's sort of he's the summary guy who did everything for the Middle Ages. Everybody believes him. All right. Till Thomas Aquinas, there's another point. All right. After Thomas Aquinas, we have Descartes. All right, French philosopher, the father of modern philosophy. Descartes. All right. Descartes thinks God is a perfection. It's absolute perfect. It's most perfect being. That's still a being. Something is perfect. That's a God. That's his idea. All right. Then we have Spinoza. Spinoza thinks, we know Spinoza's system in ethics. It's like a deduction. Everything goes from the axiom, go down, blah, 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 to the detail, to the theorem. He tried to prove it like Euclid geometry. He tried that way, all right? And his books are very long, if you read it, it's really tedious. And according to Leibniz, only one person read it. According to Hegel, I think Leibniz read it. Nobody else did. And other people just look at the summary because it's too long, too tedious to do it. But the major idea is deduction. But the thing is, deduction works here to prove God. That's the question, right? Okay. But his system, he thinks by deduction, from the starting point downward, we can prove the existence of God. All right? Be alert of the word existence. All the time, from God created the world, everybody started to think either being or existence of something. That's the idea. In other words, something exists that has the property of everything's best. That's the idea. Okay, so that thinking, that line of logic goes around this circle all the way. All right, so remember this. All right, after Spinoza, we have Kant's morality. All right, so what is Kant's idea? Kant's idea in the ontological part is the reason is limited. On the moral part, he thinks God is the imperative morality. So everything you should think about the motivation, not the ends result. Okay? So it's imperative. So God is the absolute command of morality. Well, reasonable, right? It's you think about it must have a direction so it can go from lower to higher, right? So you follow something. Like people said, if there is no God, then why should everybody behave the way they are doing now? They can do whatever they like, right? That's a God because of the existence of God. We have direction. And Kant says that it's imperative, right? You should be a moral morality or king or lawgiver for morality. All right, everybody should treat it like that. That's Kant's idea. All right, and till then Hegel. All right, Hegel's idea of God we know already talked about it. It's the absolute idea, absolute concept or reason. Actually, Hegel is not alone, and he took it from Fichte Schelling. And in Schelling, already in Fichte, he already think the movement, the moving forward of ego or self or I. That's already there, right? In the German idealism. But Hegel is a summary of everybody before him. So he advances the system and the move idea forward than the circle thing. All right, that's his biggest contribution. So I think my theory owes more to Hegel than anybody else. But of course, I taught everybody else. I also learned something from them. But Hegel is more of it. Okay, and so that's Hegel's idea. If you go on, keep going, then you have come to Heidegger's idea, another German H, Heidegger. And for Heidegger, Dasein is everything, right? The existence, that's absolute, right? So existence is important, and that's Heidegger thinks it's sort of like everything. And if you connect the dots, you will feel Heidegger's idea is actually go back to the existence of here at the beginning already. It goes back here. They are connected already. Because since the religion says God created world, it means existence. Till Aristotle is substance. That's the existence of everything. Or Parmenides, you can say, be around this area in the ancient Greek philosophers. They have that idea already. So they are connected, sort of. All right? So it's complete already around. All right. Next one, I should say, is Wittgenstein. Wittgenstein's idea. What's important about Wittgenstein's idea about metaphysics or creation or God or existence or being? He says, when you cannot speak clearly, you don't say it. What does this mean? The essential thing is there is something more that you cannot use language to express it. You can interpret it this way, right? Because you cannot say it clearly, so you better shut up. Shut up, do what? Think about that. When you think it clearly, then you can express it, say it clearly, right? You don't go back to sleep, but think about that. Okay, so Wittgenstein's idea is that God, or the absolute, is unspeakable. The metaphysics are unspeakable. You cannot say it in a way you use language to describe normal things, like any other things. For the last The fundamental one, the supreme being, is hard to say. You cannot say that. Then we come to the last one, my instinctuality and absolutity. Okay, instinctuality and absolutity. This is the absolute goes a circle. Absolute from God's created world, absolute world. Then Aristotle, absolute infinite substance, absolute substance. And here, absolute soul, absolute spirit, that's God. Then in Augustine's, absolute existence. In Aquinas, it's absolute being, absolute existence. Excellent, absolute virtue. Aquinas, absolute existence. Descartes, absolute perfect. And Spinoza, and absolute order or absolute existence of God in that order, deduction, right? For Kant, absolute morality, absolute imperative. For Hegel, absolute idea. For Fichte, absolute stuff. For Schelling, absolute nature. Okay? For Heidegger, absolute existence, absolute being, absolute being, for Wittgenstein, unspeakable, absolute unspeakable. You cannot talk. For my instinctuality and absolutity, absolute, you can say it, describe it with the language. Otherwise, you draw a picture or something. That's why I draw so many pictures. But it's normally philosophers try to sound mysterious. Maybe Hegel likes to do it. And so they don't draw pictures. It don't help you to understand it. But I try to help you to make my ideas clear. So I draw a lot of pictures, like cartoons, like a children's book. And so to make the ideas clear. And that's my way. Okay? So the absolute is before, logically, before something happened. So it's called absolute. Absolute only has one definition. I see it. Absolute is the opposite of the relative. No other way to say it. Whatever you say, you use language. Language is something. Something is against absolute. Okay? So when you use something to describe absolute, you are wrong. That's the idea. But you have to use something to describe absolute. So you use the relative to summarize everything into a relative. So when Einstein used relativity to describe physics, that gave you a philosophical sense. All our world is relative. As philosophers, we should realize that. Then how to break this circle of relative? We go to absolute itself. That's the way it is. But unfortunately, this absolute is no longer existence, no longer being, no longer the study of it or ontology. So that's called the end of philosophy, right? Philosophy is studying something, is to study something. But here we don't have something anymore. Then what else do we have? We have nothing? No. Nothing is a part of something. We have something else? No. We don't have something else. So how can you get that idea? That absolute. It is not something. It is not nothing. It's not nothing else. It's not something else. You can only realize it and express it with language. Say what is absolute. Use the predicate is. But actually absolute is unspeakable, as Wittgenstein said. Oh, he didn't say absolute. He says when you cannot speak out clearly, don't say it. All right? Okay. So that's the idea. To summarize, what's Hegel's position in the whole circle here? Okay, he puts the idea thesis, antithesis, and synthesis in the system as a system. Think about the historical circle here. If it's one trend going forward, doesn't it go from one side first, then go to other side, then move forward the same way again to the middle to go forward? If you see it in big chunk of distance, it goes that way. We have the urge to do something a lot of times. Then we, on a second thought, we try to modify that. And eventually we take the first urge, we still do it. And then that's also the three stages of Hegel's idea. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. It's like that. All right? So in big historical chunk or period, you can see the truth of that. He calls dialectical truth, right? You can see that. But from the starting point to the move, to move a circle to the closing of instantology and absolutology, it's a circle completed. In that sense, it's the end of philosophy. For ontology, it's ending. But of course, as I said before, in terms of chasing wisdom, chasing the world for wisdom, it never ends. All right? But as logically, as a study, as a subject, the subject of study, philosophy is ending. You cannot produce anything major in philosophy because all the fields, all the subjects are already exhausted till instantology and absolutology. Now the absolutology is a study of all this absolute journey. From the beginning, God created the world till eventually it's unspeakable. We know philosophers are not religious people, so we don't say God. We use the word absolute. How do we reach absolute? Through the relative. It's the reason, right? It's rationale, right? We realize it. It's not through logic, through language, but through different epistemology. I call it Wu Xing, from the Oriental, the meditation part of the Buddhism or Chinese philosophy, 玄学, something like that. All right? Okay. So that's basically what I'm going to talk about today. I just like to realize the whole circle is called absolutology. That's why I use that word. It's actually not in Webster's dictionary yet. But the study of the absolute and pursuing the absolute actually is a historical trend or task, if you like. Actually, absolute has its own way to move you forward, especially in the discussion of creationism versus evolution, the qualitative change versus quantitative change. All right, evolution is a quantitative change. You can change little things, little by little, but no qualitative change. Okay, so you realize the essence of absolute, the movement, the trend, from the absolute of everything, I cannot even say everything, absolute beyond the circle till in instantology and absolutology, you have two halves of your brain. One goes by the syntax, the other goes by semantics. One goes logic and the math, the other goes by arts and the meaning, music, everything else. So these two little localized absolute actually is part of the entire absolute. It reaches the peak and combined join itself with the absolute outside of itself. That is absolute. But those two little halves of absolute are localized. I call it two localized absolutes are in your brain or localized in your brain. When God made the human being, it's like that. All right, you realize it or not, this is the end of it, because the two absolute minor absolutes join the absolute in general outside. So that's the end of it. All right. So this is the idea of insyncology and absolutology. If you look back, the whole thing you included here. As Hegel did, everything till his time is a culmination of all the previous philosophical ideas. So it's the same thing for here, but it's an even bigger step because it got whole circle covered. The absolutology is the study of everybody's absolute. In religious words, it's God. And the insyncology is to study something, how something as a determinate being works as a package. That's the idea. All right? So the two parts constructed the insyncology and absolutology. And also said bye-bye to philosophy as a study of the field of study. It's ending its logic. That's the idea. All right? Okay. That's everything I need to say today. Thank you very much for watching.